Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today we are talking about the video game Rime for the Nintendo Switch. For those of you who don't know, when the Switch first came out, our video game options were very limited, and I remember Rime being one of the few video games that was out like at Switch release day. I wasn't sure if it was like a release game or not, but I remember it being mentioned pretty early, but then it fell off pretty quickly. Like nobody talks about Rime anymore. But I was just kind of interested in it. I found it for pretty cheap at GameStop, and it has just been sitting in my backlog for a while now, so I figured now would be a good time to get to it. It did only take me a day to play through, so that's why I'm already putting up another casual review so quickly. So I just want to just give you guys a heads up, like straight out of the gate, this game wouldn't let me do any capturing of video. I think this is the first Switch game that I've ever tried to capture video, and it just says it's not compatible with this game. So that really sucks. What I ended up doing is I ended up putting it on my projector and recording it on my phone. So if you see a little shadow at the bottom of the video game footage, it's just the shadow cast on my phone. But I tried just pointing the phone at my tablet, and it wasn't that good of an image. You could see a bunch of reflections and stuff like that, and nobody wants to see that. So that's why the video looks the way it does. It's really lame that it doesn't let me capture video. I've never heard of a video game on the Switch not letting you do that. But yeah, so Rime, the premise is basically you're a child. I'm not sure if you're a boy or a girl, but you get stranded on this island with like no humans. There's animals on it, but it's very like sandy. There's seagulls, there's like some wild boars, and then there's just like a bunch of buildings from like some sort of lost civilization. It's the aesthetic is actually pretty pleasing. It's like this very like all the buildings are made out of this white smooth kind of stone, but with like gold trimming. It kind of reminds me of something you'd find in like Greece or some ancient civilization in Europe is what it reminds me of. You know what? It kind of reminds me of that map on Overwatch. Shoot, where was that? Where was that taking place? I wouldn't be surprised if the architecture from the buildings in this game is based off of Ilios. Is that how you pronounce the city? The like white city that's on the shores of the beach. I'm probably just butchering all this information, but yeah. So the aesthetic was actually kind of I feel like I'm kind of conflicted about the whole appearance of this game. It's weird. It's like beautiful, but at the same time, it doesn't look good. Like, I think if they just spent a little more, the art direction is really, really good. I like these little miniature pops of color that show through, especially like the child's red cape. It's very prominent in the colors of it all, but it's just, at the same time, it doesn't look good. It looks like a low budget kind of game. It kind of reminds me of back when I was in college. I actually took a game development course, and what they did is they split us up into groups, and then at the very last day, we all tried out each other's games that we've been working on all semester. This kind of looks and also plays like one of those student groups games, but if they had enough time to like really flesh it out into a full game. That's what it feels like, because there's like not a lot to this game, like appearance wise and gameplay wise, but at the same time you could tell like whoever created this game had a ton of ambition as well. Like, it's beautiful. It's crazy. Like, I'm really conflicted about this game as a whole, as you'll come to find out. So you're basically like navigating this island, trying to. There's like no narration. There's no words or anything like that. It's just your character has a yell, but that's the only like noise that you hear coming from him. There's like no reading anything. There's just like murals of this ancient civilization that from this island, but there's really like no story to be had here, unless it's more like one of those like, hey, piece it together yourself, make your own narrative kind of thing. But you're just navigating through this island, you're doing these puzzles. I wouldn't necessarily call them puzzles. It's more like find this item and interact with this platform with the item kind of thing. Or like a lot of climbing, like a lot of find the correct ledges that you're supposed to go to. Not too many like aha puzzles. So that's like the meat and potatoes of the game, is you're trying to find items to interact with other items, basically. You also have this like cute little fox thing. It looks like a fox. Maybe it's like a little dog or something. No, it's a fox. So you have this cute little fox, and he's kind of like your guide. He basically works as a waypoint to tell you where to go, because sometimes this game can feel a little open-ended, and then you can go off the beaten path and find like collectibles and things like that. But most of them, for all the collectibles that I found, were just like a model that you can look at and spin around, which isn't really a big deal for me. So I never really collected any of the collectibles. I kind of just followed the fox wherever he told me to go. I actually kind of got mad whenever I would think I'm going down the right pathway, but no, I found a collectible, so I ended up going the wrong, like, I was upset I found a secret unlockable, because it's just like, I just want to go down the right way, really. I kind of just want to see where this island leads me, what kind of secrets this island is holding, but I didn't really care about the collectibles themselves, to be honest. It kind of reminds me of the game Myst, if any of you guys have played that. It's like one of the earlier PC games for you younger folks, but it's basically like you move around the island, you interact with objects, you try to solve puzzles to progress. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game was inspired by Myst, actually. So I did play this on the Nintendo Switch, and I gotta be honest, it chugs so hard. I did this big long update for it too, because I remember when it first came out, people were saying it's like not a good port on this Switch, and so I was hoping this big long update would help, because it was a big update. But even after doing it, it would just straight up freeze, like a lot of the time. It would just straight up freeze, like a ton of times. Whenever I changed the camera or something too quickly, it would just stop and chug like really, really hard. It actually kind of ended up giving me a headache sometimes, because just like the stop go nature of it all, it just it's not a good port. I'm not sure how this version runs on other systems, but I definitely would not recommend getting this on the Switch if you aren't interested in handheld play at all. Also on the Switch, I'm not sure how the visuals look on other machines, but it just looks really foggy. It's really hard to see in the distance. It's just like I at this point, I do expect a downgrade when I play a game on the Nintendo Switch. To me, it is worth it to play handheld, to be able to play it on the Switch and get that downgrade. But sometimes I just feel like certain games are not well optimized for the system. Like, I think it could be better on the Switch, especially for a game like this. It doesn't seem like it's that expensive of a game to run. It does look a little more simplistic visual wise and like combat wise. It's not like there's a ton going on the screen at all or anything like that. So that kind of also gives me the whole like, hey, this is just like a student project that was fully fleshed out kind of vibe, because like maybe whoever created, I think it's a team, what is it, Team Tequila Works. Oh, so I'm not sure if Tequila Works really knew how to optimize a game for a Switch yet, and I don't really blame them for that, because this game did come out like when the Switch was still pretty new. But still, it just kind of sucks that it just chugs and looks the way it does. The climbing, kind of boring. Like, when I think of video games such as Uncharted or the Assassin's Creed series, when I think of those games, climbing is probably the least fun part about those games. It's basically just like, hey, look for this different colored rock to tell you that you can reach out and grab it. And this game didn't even have like branching pathways when you're climbing up a lighthouse. It's pretty linear climbing as well. It just kind of felt like filler to make the game seem just a little bit longer. Not really great. The puzzles were actually okay, but like I said, it was just find this thing and have it interact with this other thing. Or like sometimes you'll peep into this little keyhole and you'll line two objects up, but even that wasn't like challenging. It wasn't like Resident Evil 7 where like you're trying to rotate the object to get the shadow to match the object in the background. It was never anything complicated like that. It's just like, hey, line this ball so it covers this other ball in the foreground kind of thing. So the puzzles never really made me feel that clever. There just wasn't much of a challenge on top of the climbing and the puzzles, like not much. There is later on in the game as you progress, it does start to get maybe a little more interesting. Like you come across this cool looking pterodactyl thing, and you can't be like exposed to the outside long enough or he'll swoop down and get you. And the deaths are not punishing at all, which I'm pretty grateful for. It doesn't take you back that far either, and it just kind of kicks you back to a couple steps away to where you were. But so you just like have to hurry and run for cover, otherwise like this pterodactyl thing would come and get you. And then other times you're like in like a shadowy area, and these Dementor looking things would suck at your souls. But other times the Dementors would just look at you. It's weird. It's one of those like up for interpretation kind of things, I think. But I think those were the only two real hazards. Oh, and there is like you obviously can't like jump off a ledge or something like that. You will die at a certain fall distance as well. But it's more of those like I said, it's more like Myst. You kind of just walk around the island. You're trying to uncover any secrets that the island may hold. That's what's supposed to be really pushing you towards completing this game. Like I mentioned, it did get a little more interesting as I kept playing. When I first started playing, it just was super boring, just climbing and pretty bare bones, but they do actually add a couple more interesting things. I won't go too much into detail, but there's that pterodactyl that was pretty cool, like trying to hunt you down, breaking through walls, and then you do interact with some like big robots. I don't know, like they do have a couple cool elements actually, which made the game seem a little bit better. I kind of wished more of the game was like that, whereas the first third of the game was just navigating this deserted island, really. The music was great, which is a really good thing, because my used copy of Rime that I got from GameStop actually came with a free soundtrack code, and I plugged it in because I was curious if the previous owner had used it, and he didn't. So I just have the soundtrack to Rime now, which is great because it's really like this the soundtrack, it kind of reminds me of, dare I say, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, like lots of violins, lots of like mystical. It's kind of like whenever Aang went to the spirit realm to like talk to Master Ryoshi or something like that, like that kind of music. It was very peaceful, kind of maybe even a little wistful. Very good. I could see myself listening to the soundtrack again, especially now that I own it. My game actually did come with this cool little flip book that has like fan art and concept art and stuff like that. You don't see a lot of games with a handbook in it anymore, so that's kind of cool, especially since it's a used game from GameStop, no less. I'm surprised that I got the whole complete package, because usually it's just like a generic cover and stuff like that, but I think it's pretty much like a brand new game. I'm pretty sure the previous owner got it and immediately returned it or something like that, so I'm pretty excited about that. And then, yeah, the whole narrative of the game, not going to go into any spoilers or anything like that, but it was basically just like, hey, well, figure it out yourself. They do lay out a couple more things and make things a little more clear. It's kind of like a more wistful kind of game, kind of more sad, but a lot of it is still up to your interpretation, what you think things represent, if you will. It definitely didn't overstay its welcome for what this kind of game was. I feel like if I had to play this game any longer than a day, it would have felt too long, but I think overall it took me about 6 hours to play through, and I didn't go for like any of the completionist stuff. I didn't go for our achievements, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't give you like points or anything. I didn't go for any of the collectibles either, so I think if you're going for everything, it might take you around 10 hours to beat, so I feel like that's actually a pretty good length for this type of game. Overall, I think originally, I gotta be honest, I was gonna give this a 1 out of 5. I was not having fun, but as I did progress, it did give me a couple more interesting things to chew on. I think I will give this a 2 out of 5. It could have been a 3 out of 5 easily if they just flesh it out just a little bit more, but 2 out of 5. Well, let me know your experiences with Rime, or if you have any questions about Rime, I'd be happy to answer. So I guess I'll just move on to the next game. I'm happy to have this one out of my backlog finally, see what Rime is all about. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!